Welcome to Wiregrass Daily News Sports. This is your daily look at sports in the Wiregrass and the Southeast. Dothan Wolves on 96.9. The legend producer Phillip Jordan breaks the news, covers the games, and talks to experts in the Wiregrass and Southeast. And now, Phillip Jordan.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Wednesday edition of Wiregrass Daily News Sports. I am your host, Phillip Jordan, in-studio host and producer, Dothan Wolves football on 96.9, The Legend, and Auburn writer for Last Word on college football. You can follow me on social media at PJordanSEC. The podcast is available on all your favorite podcast platforms, and you can also check it out over at wiregrassdailynews.com. You can always email me at sports.philipjordan@gmail.com. Everybody joining me today on the Wednesday edition of Wiregrass Daily News Sports, a longtime friend, Jon Johnson, sports editor over at the Dothan Eagle. And Jon, I appreciate you coming on the show. We're gonna touch on the Tide, Tigers, and Trojans here today.
Yeah, glad to do it, Phillip. Always glad talking to you, man. You've been doing this for a while now. Kind of an expert on the podcast, so I'm glad to jump on board anytime you need me, and if I can figure out how to get on there. It takes me a little doing to get the links to work and all that kind of stuff, but I'm ready to help you out anytime. I appreciate you having me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's the way everything goes now. Because I know you guys do sometimes you have to do when the press conference with Coach Summerall had to do kind of like this kind of deal with him too as well. So it's just like when COVID happened, it's just like this is kind of now the norm now. Jumping
it is. And, when used to you'd go up to the press conference in person, and this once COVID happened and you had to do the remote Zooms and everything, come to find out that it works really good because, it saves us some time on the road, whoever the reporters are going from wherever to Troy and back. And so, I think the Zoom, at least at Troy, is going to be something that's there to stay. And it saved me a couple of hours on Mondays. And so I'm all about it.
Oh, yeah. It is a convenient thing. Talking about Troy, people looking on YouTube see the talking Tide, Tigers, and Trojans on the screen. We're going to start off with Troy and Jon, a dominant performance on Saturday, homecoming. They win 37-3. I thought coming in, maybe Arkansas State could do a little bit. They had won 3 in a row since they had switched over at quarterback. But Troy just dominated. Just, your overall thoughts on the Trojans' performance on Saturday.
Yeah, I think they're starting to look a lot like last year, to be quite honest with you. The defense has gotten better every week, and that was something that was really concerning to me coming into the season, how they could be near as good as they were last year, because they were just dominant on that side of the ball a year ago. But hey, it's starting to look a lot like last year on that side. And then we knew the offense would be good, but it took a little bit of time to get the running game going. I guess the second, third games didn't play very well at all on that side of the football as far as running the ball. But hey, the last, 3 weeks or so, that part of the offense has really come to life with Kamani Vidal. I mean, he leads the nation in rushing. The offensive line, they had replaced 3 starters, so it was taking them a little time to adjust and learn the offense, and they've really come on the last couple of weeks. And so this is a team right now that's really solid on both sides of the football. Every week on the last, 3 weeks or so, they've come against a really hot quarterback coming into the game. And each week they've really slowed that quarterback down. I mean, the defense has just handled the quarterback. And then on Troy's side of it, Gunnar Watson's been solid. And, the kicking game has come along with, they got a new kicker in Scott Taylor Renfro, the Pike Liberal Arts product. And so really, I think Troy right now at midway point of the season, they're looking really strong. And I think they would be the favorite again to win the Sun Belt title, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, it seems like the recipe for success for Troy is you talk about their defense and just hand Kamani Vidal the football. Was it now 20-3 when he has 50 yards or more? I mean, it's an incredible record.
It's something like that, and the same sort of thing as if the team in general goes over 100 yards rushing. The record's incredible over the last couple of years. So, yeah, if they can just keep the running game going, and they've got some great receivers, Phillip. I mean, I asked them at the press conference after the game. Asked one of them they had in there, do y'all practice one-handed catches? Because every game it's like you see this spectacular one-handed catch from one of them at least. A couple of times on Saturday. They've got some really talented receivers, and that means you cannot just focus on stopping the running game because they can blister you in a heartbeat with a long pass, and that's what they did to kind of finish it off last Saturday. Chris Lewis got open down the sidelines, the transfer from Kentucky. Gunnar Watson hit him just perfectly in stride. 60-something yard touchdown pass and catch, and that really put the game away. And then Kamani Vidal just for insurance went 70-something yards, I think it was, on a direct snap. And so, yeah, they got everything going right now. And they're going into a little different situation Saturday against as far of a style team they're playing against in Army, though. So that will be an interesting test for them.
Yeah, Devontae Ross had that one-handed catch. I remember it was a pass interference call. He just didn't need to throw that flag. He took care of it. I think maybe the rest of them are getting jealous because it seemed like for a couple of weeks there, Chris Lewis was getting one every single week, and then and another thing too is every week it's a different guy as the lead receiver. Because last week it was Dothan's own Jabri Barber. He went over 100. We've seen Chris Lewis. This week, Deshaun Stoudemire had a big game. He had the fumble there near the goal line, but still a big game for him. And that's good too because for Troy, you can't key on one receiver because any of them can step up and have a big day. Yeah,
and from looking from the press box, you think, man, that's as solid as they can play on both sides of the ball. And then you go down to the press conference, and Summerall's upset about all these things he saw that went wrong. And that shows you what kind of coach he is. I mean, he's not focused in on, we won this game, we look great, this, that, and the other. He's looking at what did we do wrong? What can we correct? And I think that's a sign of a good football coach. I mean, even before looking at the film, he knew all these things that he was not happy with. And, man, if you can continue to improve week by week and eliminate those mistakes, the sky's the limit for this team, I think, again this year.
Yeah, I think one thing he keeps hitting on, I know he did on Monday during the press conference he had, the tackles for losses, the ones against them. He's still wanting that part of it cleaned up. But it seems like they're getting better at that.
It does. And, again, I think that comes with just more experience now with those linemen working together. They made one move a couple of weeks ago just to make a change. They moved, I think it was Blake Austin. Grant Betts moved from left guard, I think, to left tackle maybe, and Blake Austin became the left guard. They made one personnel move just to they felt like they could do something a little different with one of their players, and it has shown in the last couple of weeks. I mean, the line has really come together. The tackles for losses are a little bit of a problem. Gunnar, he'll hang in there sometimes instead of just letting the ball loose, I think. But, yeah, I think they're working on, if they can get the pass protection a little better, the running game is there now. You're starting to see the holes that you didn't see earlier in the year.
Yeah, I think Gunnar Watson got in on the running game, too, on Saturday off the replay.
Yeah, that surprised everybody. I think it was an all-time career run of 16 yards for him. But, yeah, that you do something like that, and that keeps them off guard.
Yeah, I was watching the ESPN Plus broadcast with Ben Stanfield, and they talked about that. So I think that was a career long for him. They was calling him instead of Gunnar Watson, Runner Watson on that one.
Yeah.
So their matchup with Army. Army's 2-3. This is always a tough matchup because the style offense they run, the triple option attack, you're not used to seeing it. I joked with somebody the other day. I said, well, at least used to with Georgia Southern, you saw this in the Sun Belt. But now with Helton, their head coach, that's throwing the ball all over the place. So you don't really see it in the Sun Belt anymore either. So, for you, what do you think is going to be key for Troy, going up against that style of offense?
It is going to be different because this is probably the only week they're going to have to prepare for something like this. And it's supposed to rain up there Saturday. I think it's like a 70% chance of rain. So besides if they just normally would run the football, I think you're really going to just see that. The good thing about it is you can kind of key in on that, and I think the Troy defense will, they got such a strong defensive front. I think it's going to be tough for Army to run on them. The linebackers are starting to play better, and you're talking about replacing Carlton Marshall and K.J. Robertson from last year. So this is a whole new group of linebackers, but they're starting to play better. So I think it plays into Troy's favor because obviously with Kamani Vidal, you're going to be able to run the ball or should be able to run the ball against Army. The key is to get Army off the field and not let them have those long, sustained drives and try to do something when you get the ball and keep, like I said, keep Army off the field because that's their bread and butter. It will be a different look, and I think that's good for Troy to see something different. I think last year's score was 10-7. Troy
Yeah, it
beat
was low.
Auburn, so probably going to be a low-scoring game, especially if it does rain. So it'll be a good test for Troy. It'll be something different, and then they got an off week, and they can kind of get back to what they've been doing. And they got some big games coming up with Texas State on the road, and then South Alabama is when they get back to Troy. So it's going to be about almost a month before they play it in Troy again, because you got the off week at Texas State, and then finally South Alabama comes back. So I think it'd be a good time as far as if they can get this win and kind of keep on the road, to have the break, heal some wounds, and then get ready for the stretch run.
Yeah, because Texas State coming up is going to be an interesting one, because TJ Finley leads the Sun Belt and passing right now. Of course, we know the South Alabama game. That's the rival. That's the big game for them. So yeah, it's going to be interesting going into how they deal and going into these games. And I want to transition. I also want to ask you your thoughts on Alabama and Auburn. First off, John, you've been doing this a long time, and you've covered and seen Nick Saban for all these years. I ask people this all the time. Does he seem like he is just joking around a whole lot more than he used to? Because even after losses, I see after the Texas game, he was doing his coach's show on Thursday night, and he was cracking jokes, and he's doing it now. I think we're seeing a much more mellow Nick Saban than we're used to.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, he used to would not joke at a press conference with reporters, or laugh or smile or any of that kind of thing. We saw a little of the old Nick Saban during the Mississippi State game, when he really in the first half got on his players, assistants, the whole deal. And I think finally he just had to let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Then the first couple of games of the year, even the Texas game and the South Florida game, it was just strange almost. I mean, there was hardly he didn't ever even look mad. He just maybe concerned, but you thought, man, is he kind of losing his edge? Is he mellowing out? And yeah, I think he is mellowing out some. I mean, you get older and it's just a little different. I think he knows he's got to handle players a little different in this day and age, even different than from 5 years ago. And he's trying to figure out this team. Do I need to be a little more gentle with them until they come around? When do I kind of explode on them? Well, I think he kind of exploded on them against Mississippi State. And really, last week, I honest to goodness thought going into that game against Texas A&M might be the better team. And playing at home, I really felt like they would probably win the game, to be quite honest with you, because if you looked at, games of both teams, and I was able to see a little bit of Texas A&M games earlier in the year, I thought this is one team that I think physically can certainly match up with Alabama, as far as athletes and that kind of thing. Then you go into, they're playing at home. Milroe, still kind of learning to be a starting quarterback for Alabama in that kind of hostile environment. I gave Texas A&M a little bit of an edge, so I'm so impressed that Alabama came away with that victory, especially when you consider they didn't play great. They had a bunch of penalties, had a touchdown taken away from a penalty that probably shouldn't have been called. And they still get out of there with a win. And so I think you got to tip your hat to Alabama to go into that environment against a very good team. The winner, you figure, is going to be the front runner without a doubt to win the SEC West, and that's Alabama now. And they went in and earned that game. And so Alabama, we kind of talk about Troy getting better week by week. Without a doubt, we're seeing Alabama do the same. And Milroe, as he continues to get better and more comfortable, he's dangerous. We knew that from the start. He can make things happen when things are breaking down, but he's getting more comfortable in the pocket. And man, I think he passes better when the pressure's on him. It seems like to me. And so, Alabama is starting to hit their stride. Their defense is getting better. Secondary is still a concern. And there's some games out there that they could lose without a doubt. This isn't the dominant Alabama team we've seen in the past, but this is certainly right now the best team in the SEC West.
Yeah, it seems like with them, and I almost feel like a throwback to maybe one of Nick Saban's earlier teams, because you don't have that quarterback and those NFL receivers when they were just littered with them. Had 4 of them at one time with Tua when he was their quarterback, but play really good defense, which they do, run the ball, and then Milroe makes some plays through the air and on the ground too as well. But also feels like with them, like they need to bring their A game a lot now. They can't bring their B game and still beat people like they used to. the talent level has there's not as big as a gap between them as some teams in the conference.
No, it's leveled off, and kind of been spoiled by quarterbacks in recent year with Alabama. I mean, they've had NFL pro quarterbacks as starting for them, so you get I won't say an average quarterback. Milroe is more than average, but you get a quarterback that is not a Heisman Trophy candidate, and things are a little different. Don't have the star running back really. The line, as big as it is, I think is kind of slow. The defense is very good, but they don't have a Will Anderson. They got some very good players, but they don't have that dominant player. And the secondary has been a little sketchy. They've got a place kicker that they used to didn't have when they had those dominant teams. That's really, really good, of course. But yeah, this is an Alabama team that's got to bring their A game every week, because there's LSU down the road, there's Tennessee down the road, there's Kentucky down the road, and they play at Auburn. If they don't bring their A game in any of those games, they're in trouble.
And then you talked about Auburn there at the end. It's going to Jordan-Hare. We always know that game's wild. Whenever Alabama goes to Jordan-Hare, that's like a horror house for Alabama, it feels like. But Auburn this year, obviously rebuilding year. Hugh Freeze talked about it, coming into the season. When he got to Auburn, he said, this is not the talent level where the Auburn team should be at. And they're improved from last year, and he improved the roster through the transfer portal. But you can tell offensively, they're still lacking playmakers at receiver. Quarterback is still iffy with Thorne and Ashford, but defense has played well. That's been a positive for Auburn. Just what's been your overall takeaways from the first 5 games with Hugh Freeze at Auburn?
I'm with you, and the defense is better than I thought it would be. The offense is not as good as obviously I figured it would be, especially with Hugh Freeze kind of being the head coach. And I know he's not the quote offensive coordinator, but when I watched the California game, I thought after that was over with, man, that's not a very good football team. And you go out there and get a win, that's fine. But I thought, man, it's going to be a long year with these guys. The Georgia game gives you hope that, hey, these guys are improving. They can play with the best in the nation, because Georgia obviously is right now the best in the nation, the cream of the crop. So if you can kind of stand toe-to-toe with Georgia and have a chance to win that game, I think, that gives you a lot of momentum going forward. The off week was probably good for Auburn. I've been very, I guess, discouraged at Peyton Thorne. I thought he'd be a much better passer. And, from when you look back when he was at Michigan State, just hadn't played very well. And, maybe he will turn the corner. They will need him to have success. Obviously they're running ball pretty good. The offensive line's been okay. The running backs have been running stronger in the last couple of weeks. But they got to have a good passing game. And I know that goes back to having good receivers. But Thorne is, I don't know, he's been slow to get the ball out. He's got to fling it, let those receivers go get it. And I know they're working on that type of thing. But I guess that's been my biggest disappointment as far as on Auburn's end is Thorne just not playing as well as I thought he could. Robbie Ashford's a fine athlete, but I don't think he's the guy that you can just hang your hat on either. So you got to use both of them and hope whoever's got the hot hand brings you through. Let's face it, Auburn's got 2 average quarterbacks. Unless Thorne comes along in the next couple of weeks, that's what we're looking at. Ashford can help you. Just he can obviously a great running quarterback. He's not going to hurt you with the pass. We know that, but he can certainly have a role in this team. But right now, Auburn's a mediocre offensive team that's got to get better if they're going to do well towards the end of the season. Look, with LSU coming up, that's going to be a tough one on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Then they got Ole Miss at home. That's going to be tough. But towards the very back end of their schedule, they got chances to knock off some teams and have a good record. And then you got Alabama coming in for the final one, and I know Alabama obviously will be the heavy favorite, I would imagine, in that one. But as you know, anything could happen when they play at Jordan-Hare anyway. And so let's see how they improve on the second half of the season. That'll be interesting to me, because I think they got a good coaching staff in place. I think they got a good plan. It's just, do they have the players to execute?
Mm-hmm.
I think next year they'll be very competitive. I think in 2 years from now, Freeze will have where Auburn should be as far as knocking on the door of being a contender in the SEC and in the making the playoffs, a contender and making the playoffs. But right now, this is a middle of the pack SEC team, quite frankly.
Yeah, It's going to be tough against LSU. I mean, Auburn, we talked about Auburn's defense is playing well, but that offense, the way LSU's playing offensively right now, that's going to be hard. And I joked with somebody, I said, well, it's going to be weakness versus weakness against LSU. The LSU defense versus the Auburn offense. Let's see which one can step up. And then, like you said, you got Ole Miss. But, you look at Arkansas. I mean, they're playing Alabama this week, so they're looking at 2-5. That's a beatable team.
Mm-hmm.
Mississippi State's not great now. Will Rogers, we'll see what his injury situation is. You got Vanderbilt. You got New Mexico in there, too. So, I mean, that's 3 or 4 games you can win. If just say you win those, that's 7 wins. I think you take year one under Hugh Freeze. If you get 7 wins, I think you take that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then maybe you knock off a Ole Miss, or who knows? LSU, crazy things happen when those two teams play.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you can knock off either an LSU and Ole Miss, and I could see them beating Ole Miss. I think that'll be a tall order, but I could see them beating Ole Miss. And then, like you said, the very back end there, you should take care of. I'm not saying they can just beat Arkansas and Mississippi State by showing up, by no means. Those are very similar teams. Auburn and Mississippi State, Auburn and Arkansas, very similar. It can go either way. But if they can get those wins and finish strong, I think a 7-win season, or maybe, man, if they got 8 wins, that would really be something for what they're dealing with talent-wise right now.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. I think, look past these games, like I said, Ole Miss is going to be I think it's going to be a lot of intensity in that one because, Lane Kiffin all season did throw some shots toward Hugh Freeze, and then obviously the Auburn fans are probably going to be getting after Lane because, look, so many people thought Lane Kiffin was coming to Auburn. And then that game being in Auburn, so that's going to be an intense, it's a night game. They've already announced that's going to be at night. So we'll see. That's going to be fun. But in the back half, like you said, opportunities are there for Auburn, to get to that 6 or 7 win mark. And Jon, this has been fun too. I appreciate you coming on and talking all things Alabama, Auburn, and Troy. But if the listeners and viewers want to check you out, where can they find you, and where can they check out the Dothan Eagle?
Yeah, DothanEagle.com, of course, is our website. We print now just 3 days a week. That's on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday if you want a print edition. One thing I tell folks is if you, hopefully I would hope you subscribe to our digital edition. If you just want to get it digitally, you can do that. It's not that expensive. If you get the print, if you subscribe to the print, you get the digital along with that. But also you can go onto Facebook and like the Dothan Eagle page, and most all of our local stories are on there as well. So any way you want to read us, we'd love to have you do that.
Yeah, everybody go do it. I'm a subscriber. It's well worth the money. And Jon, I appreciate the time, and I look forward to when we get to do this again sometime down the road.
Thank you, Phillip. Appreciate it as always.
All right. Thanks again once to Jon Johnson for coming on the show. I appreciate Jon. I've known Jon a long time. He gave me my first opportunity at sports media back in 2010, 2009. I covered high school basketball for the Dothan Eagle as a sports correspondent. And I've always been appreciative of Jon, and I always appreciate when he comes on any show that I'm doing. So a lot of fun. And go check out the Dothan Eagle. Go check them out. They do great work over there. Some good journalism over there at the Dothan Eagle. So we're going to close things up with one thing, and that is the Braves winning on Monday night. You say it's Wednesday. Why didn't you talk about it on Tuesday? Well, I didn't do a Tuesday show. We combined Monday and Tuesday show into one this past week. I think it's done really well too, numbers wise. People are responding to it, so appreciate that. Appreciate that a lot. So I want to talk about the Braves' epic come from behind victory over the Phillies on Monday night to tie the series 1-1. And I am going to be completely honest. I went back and rewatched it, but about 4th, 5th inning, Braves are down 4-0. They could not get a hit for anything. I turned it to Monday Night Football and watched the Packers and the Raiders. We will not get into that game, that dumpster fire of a game that was, because I'm a Packers fan and I don't want to talk about it. So that's that. But the Braves come back to tie the series 1-1. Of course, this is a best-of-5 NLDS series, and it was just rough. It was rough. I mean, Max Fried had a rough first inning. He gave up a run. The bases did get loaded. He got out of it, but at some point, the Phillies do go up 4-0 in this game. We're not here to talk about the Phillies, though. This is the Wiregrass Daily News Sports. We care about the Braves here. That's the priority. So, but they build that 4-0 lead, and the Braves did not get on the board until the 6th inning. So that's 14 consecutive innings without a run. That's the longest streak for the Braves of the entire season. This is the best offensive team. This is the best team in baseball all year long. But in the 6th inning, they got a run after Ozzie Albies singled to right and Ronald Acuna scored on an error by the shortstop there by the Phillies. So they get the first run. It's 4-1. It's okay. Braves got a little momentum going here. Then in the 7th inning, Darno homered, and Matt Olson scored there as well. So now it's 4-3. Braves has got some momentum. I mean, they couldn't add any more there in the 7th, but there in the 8th inning, Austin Riley. I'm going to mention him again in a second. The 2-run shot in the 8th inning, Ronald Acuna scores from third base. He just had stole third base too, and they're up. They're up 5-4 in the 8th inning, but the Phillies were trying to threaten. They had an opportunity. And then, man, what a catch. I mean, tremendous catch by Michael Harris in the outfield. Leaping catch. He purposely put his hand on the wall, on the fence. He did it perfectly. He did it perfectly to catch it. Then he threw it back into the infield. Tremendous throw. Went past a couple of Braves. And then Austin Riley comes over. It's middle of the infield. Throws it to first base because Bryce Harper never tagged. So he went and he got him out. Double play in the game. Braves win 5-4. Tremendous play. I mean, that is a double play for the ages. I mean, you can't watch that and say it's not. So the Braves will play again on Wednesday today, later on today. So on tomorrow's show, I may lead with the Braves. We'll see what the Braves do in Game 3. And we may lead with that. Got 2 great guests on Thursday. We're doing 2 guests on Thursday. Zach Nagy from LSU Country and Connor Goodson from Razorbacks Wire. And you ask, why are you having guys from LSU and Arkansas coming up? Because that's who Auburn and Alabama are playing this weekend. Auburn's got LSU, Alabama's got Arkansas. So we're kind of doing a behind enemy lines, know your foe type episode on Thursday. And Friday, that will be me and Matt Lowe breaking it all down, previewing the upcoming weekend of college football. And I appreciate y'all checking out the show. You're probably saying Monday went like 50 minutes, and now today we're going less than 30. So a little bit, shorter show for you guys today, but a little more lengthier on Thursday and Friday. But I think you enjoy it. Like I said, you're responding well to the show. We're still trying to grow this. So if you're listening to this, if you're subscribed, please leave a review. I read them on future editions of the show. Leave a rating. Don't leave 4 stars, or you're just a straight up hater. You can hit me up on social media, PJordanSEC. Email me at sportstalk.phillipjordan@gmail.com. And if you're checking the show out, you see the link, either the video, the YouTube, the link to wiregrassdailynews.com. Please share it. Tell people why they should be checking this show out. Tell us why it's one of the best sports shows you'll listen to. It's the only regular, I think, sports podcast in Wiregrass. We have other ones. There's radio shows, but sports podcasts coming at you this often during the weekend with the guest that we bring on this show, and the great guests will keep on coming week after week, and that's my promise I give to you. Anyways, I'm going to get out of here. I hope everybody has a great Wednesday. I'll talk to you on Thursday. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to today's Wiregrass Daily News Sports. Make sure to tune back in tomorrow for more of the sports you love in the Wiregrass. Check out the podcast at wiregrassdailynews.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Continue the conversation and connect with Phillip on social media at PJordanSEC.